Hey folks, Reloading Bench back with you once again. I'm going to call this part 2, another unintended video, part 2 of the Frankford Arsenal hand primer tool. I think I had a number of questions, more so about some of the Lee shell compatibility, the auto prime shell, as well as the Lee tray. And a couple of corrections. I think when I was making the previous video, I stated that this was stainless steel, and in fact it's zinc, but it's incredibly robust, as well as quite comfortable. So the questions around the shells were, are the numbers for the Frankford the same as Lee? And in my testing, I would say the numbers on these shells match up with the numbers on the Frankford shell holders. So I have a number 4 in here right now, and that was for 223. This is an unprimed piece of brass just to see the pin go in to hold it in place. So that is a number 4 from Frankford. I'll pop that out, and naturally I do not have my number 4 in front of me because that is sitting in my Lee bench primer, but I tested that in the previous video, so I will pull out a number 2, Lee number 2. I'm going to leave the small primer pin in simply because I don't want to take it all apart. So there's the functionality with number 2. There's a 45 shell locked in number 2. Let me pop this out, put a number 2 in from Frankford. .45 shell again, also locked in. Alright, and finally, let me throw number 19 for Frankfurt, and here is a 9mm shell, and that is locked in, and that is fitting. I'll pull the number 19 out and have to put that down, and the number 19 on the Lee. On Lee. Let me straighten that out a little. 19 on Lee, 9mm, and all is well. So the other question, and I thought my previous video covered that, was, does the Lee tray work? And the short answer is yes. So I'm going to put the number 4 back. Actually, you know what? I was going to say let me do the number 4 for Lee, but I don't have it right in front of me. So there's the 4 for Frankfurt for this particular piece of brass. And let me go ahead and put a primer in here, open it up, and I'm just going to do a single primer so I don't have to mess with primers. And Murphy's Law says it's going to jump all over the bench. So we're locked. We have a single primer in there. When I was looking at this closer last night, there appears to be no obstruction. There's plenty of space for the primer to move around in. Whoops. Might help if I lock this. Tray is locked. Put it in the on position. Primer is seated, or rather primer is in the channel. Let me see if I can push this up just slightly so you can see the primer. And I'll put this in. And we have a primed piece of brass. So to answer all the questions and address some of the incorrect information in the previous video, zinc body, steel parts, does work with the Lee shell holders in terms of fit. Same numbers, appear to be all the same numbers. I've not tested every single one, so I can't speak to that. But for the ones I have tested, they are the same numbers. And it does seem to work without any major issues with the Lee tray. So I'm going to call that a wrap. Thanks, folks.